I recently visited Chicago, and these are a couple observations that I had as a city planner exploring the city. I had a lot of the same questions about Chicago that most people have when visiting. Which neighborhoods are safe? Are there areas outside the loop that I can walk around? Can I ride the L? Why are their sports teams so bad? I stayed in the Lakeview neighborhood. Obviously, Lakeview isn't all of Chicago. I really enjoyed this neighborhood and was thinking, what would it cost for me to live here? So I looked up some of the prices, and I was blown away by how affordable the rents and purchasing a condo is in this neighborhood of Chicago. Again, it's close to Wrigley Field. You can get downtown very easily. It just seemed to have the main streets, parks. It really looked like a great place to live. And checking out the prices, there are studio apartments there going for around $1,000. There's one bedroom apartments going for under $1,600. And you can even buy a condo in this neighborhood in Chicago for less than $300,000. Those prices are insanely cheap for someone living on the East Coast. Chicago's the third largest city in the United States. So I really wasn't expecting how affordable that is from a renting and buying perspective. I understand not everybody could afford something like that, but very surprising with it being the third largest city in the United States to see rents and buying options like that in the city. It's not in the very outskirts of town. The Riverwalk was beautiful. It seemed as though the Loop area really orients itself towards the river. The river seems to be front and center. It seems to be the show of Chicago, where the people are all focused on the river, the buildings oriented towards the river. It really seemed like the lifeblood of the city. It was great to just go to the Riverwalk and people watch. There were people enjoying boat rides, boat tours, people going for walks, people going for dates, people sitting down and having a coffee, people having a beer. There was a lot of public space. It really seemed like the city's town square, if you will. The scale of the buildings in the Loop was also very surprising to me. It was really only second to Manhattan, for me at least. It made Boston feel like a small town. The scale of these buildings and the number of the skyscrapers really surpassed almost every other U.S. city I've been to. Chicago is also known for its architecture. Just walking through the city, if you appreciate architecture, you'll have a blast in Chicago. I took the red line from Sheridan, north of Wrigley Field, to Grand to explore the Loop and the Riverwalk. I also took the orange line from State and Lake to Midway. I felt very safe on the L. I found the L to be a very pleasant experience. It was really efficient, and the directionality was very intuitive. It was easy for me to get to the Loop when I wanted to, and easy for me to get around for $2.50 with very efficient trains. One was always coming. I didn't have to wait long. It was very clean, especially compared to the T in Boston. It actually reminded me more of the Metro in DC as far as the actual cleanliness of the train inside and of the stations. But overall, just a very quick, efficient, clean, safe process. For only $2.50, I was able to get where I wanted to go. I was extremely surprised at how green the city of Chicago was. Granted, I was staying in a residential neighborhood. I was staying in the Lakeview area, and I realized not all of Chicago is Lakeview, but almost every neighborhood I drove down, walked in, or took the L through, the tree canopy was unbelievable. That was something that really surprised me. It's not something I expected of Chicago. But just walking down the street, it was a very pleasant experience. A lot of shade. Even downtown in the Loop, I felt like I was close to the city center, but I looked up and there was a beautiful tree canopy. I was walking down the streets, and after a couple of days, I was thinking to myself, why is it such a pleasant experience going for a walk through some of these neighborhoods? What's different about it? And then I realized it's the back alleys that hide all the trash and cars from your main streets that you walk down. So when you're walking down the street, you have zero conflicts with vehicles. So you're walking, and it's really just to one side is a wrought iron fence and a front yard and maybe a 3-story graystone building. And then to your other side is about an 8 to 10 foot planting strip, which separates you and the sidewalk from the road. So when you're walking, you don't really have any interactions with vehicles until you get to a crosswalk. And at each intersection, there was a crosswalk. And for the most part, it seemed like vehicles really respected the right of way of pedestrians to be able to cross the street. I think having those back alleys hide all the driveways, the cars, the trash, it really cleaned up the front yards and just the streetscape. So you really just enjoyed going for a walk. And some people planted flowers, other people's really took care of their front yards. And it made for a much more active and visually pleasing streetscape. Visiting Chicago, it exceeded my expectations. It was a beautiful city. The weather was amazing. Lake Michigan was beautiful. You couldn't see the other side, so it felt like an ocean. I was really impressed with how green the city was, looking up the rents, how affordable the rents were, the walkability of the city, how the neighborhoods had such a nice medium density to them and also very close to the loop. So you can live in a nice medium density residential neighborhood and you're able to walk to a main street and you're able to walk to public transportation that can get you anywhere in the city for $2.50. The public parks looked amazing. The food was great. Every city has great food, so I hate making that comment. If there's other parts or aspects of Chicago that you think planners or people interested in urbanism would like, please leave them in the comments so people watching this video can check out cool things to see in Chicago.